Self-control and discipline are built in reflection. Now, what does that mean? Well, you probably hear me talk all the time about how diet and exercise information, more new diet and exercise information, is not what people need in order to take control of their health. But this is often the path that we go down. I just need this new diet to follow. I need to know what exercises to do and how often to do them. And is this exercise better than that exercise for this goal? We tell ourselves that that is the answer because it'd be an easier path rather than dealing with the complex problems that are the big barriers between us and success. And what are the barriers between us and success? Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but destructive behaviors like overeating, late night snacking, constant grazing, social consumption of both food and alcohol, what haven't I said here? Technological distraction, laziness, things like this. All of these gravitational forces that pull us into unhealthy behaviors and away from the things that we should be doing to take care of ourselves. And it doesn't matter how much diet and exercise information you gain, it will not change the fact that you're constantly sabotaging yourself with these destructive daily behaviors. And until you solve those complex problems, you're not really going to get what you need to reach your personal health goals. So what people need in the most general high-level sense is discipline, self-control, a way that when you find yourself in these moments of weakness where you turn to these behaviors as a form of self-medication, you can make a better decision. And that's all success is in health and fitness, is consistent choice making that is positive rather than consistent choice making that is negative. But when I talk about these things, people just ask, well, how do you do that? And when most people think about curbing an unhealthy or destructive behavior, they think about in the moment. When the food is in front of me, when the craving comes on, right? That when I'm stressed to the max and I'm in this moment, right then and there, how do I stop it? And that's the wrong way to look at creating greater self-control and discipline in health, because that's saying the fix is in the moment, right? The skill building is in the moment, but the skill building is in the reflection. That means the moments after the thing has happened. So how does this usually go? Well, let's use any sort of eating, any sort of destructive eating incidents as the example here. So you eat in a way that is consequential to your health. You feel bad physically. You feel bad emotionally. You say terrible things to and about yourself, something along the lines of, this is why you're unhealthy. You would say it to yourself in a much nastier way, but I'll just, keep it cool here. So you say something along the lines of, this is why you're unhealthy. You always do things like this. Why can't you just stop eating this way? Or why can't you just start doing the thing you know you're supposed to do? We're very hard on ourselves in that moment. And that's not helpful, because all that does is bring on a feeling of pain that makes us not want to try in the future. And you've heard me talk about that all the time. And that's in the form of, feelings of failure and constant self-sabotage. But we're not talking about that right now. But that's the place you usually go. Now, if you can start moving that post-destructive behavior assessment to just being interested in what happened and why, starting with, how did I rationalize or justify that behavior and allow myself to step into that? Because this is something we do all the time. We have to find a way to make it seem like the destructive behavior that we know is a problem is okay temporarily. So, using eating again as the example, you might say to yourself, the weekend is coming. Let's say it's Friday night, and you'll say you really want to get into a destructive eating pattern. So you say to yourself, you worked really hard this week. You were at the gym 5 days this week. You worked really hard. They're really intense days. And then you'll say something like, you probably need to overeat tonight. You probably need a cheat night in order to recover from all that exercise. Something along those lines, where you start to justify the behavior to yourself. Or if it's something like social consumption, where you're going out for dinner, you're going to have some drinks, you'll find a way where, you haven't been out with your friends in a month, and you're not going to put any restrictions on it. You don't want to be the outcast in the group. You're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're not even going to think about it. Whatever happens, happens. This is about going out and having fun. It's not about going out and thinking about what you should be doing from a health perspective, which may or may not be true. But you know what I'm getting at right now. So step one is how do you justify and rationalize this thing to yourself? And the reason why you ask that is, how can you see this coming in the future where you can kind of call yourself out on it, where you start to make these justifications for the unhealthy behavior before it's even started? Just say, like, I know what you're doing here. I know what I'm doing here. I know what I'm trying to set myself up to allow myself to do. And then, is there something that triggers these sorts of behaviors? Is there a certain place you are emotionally? Is there people that you're around, or social or professional situations that you find yourself in that drive you into that behavior? And then asking simple questions like, do I feel better about it? Because I turn to this behavior in order to find some relief. I turn to the food, I turn to alcohol, I turn to technological distraction and laziness to decompress, to remove myself from this emotion that I'm suffering from, whether it's, fear and anxiety, sadness, anger, frustration, anything along those lines. The reason why you turn to the destructive behavior is for relief and to feel better. But in the wake, do you feel better? Right? Instead of reflecting on it and just beating yourself up for the thing that you did, ask yourself, did I get the thing out of this that I told myself I was going to get? Because that is a big part of what allows you to take part in that behavior and drives you into the destructive behavior, is thinking that it is the solution for the current problem that you're facing, when in the vast majority of cases, in the aftermath, you're feeling much worse than you were going in. And these are just different examples of how you build self-control and discipline in reflection. You don't build that skill, you don't build that muscle when the destructive behavior is on the doorstep. Do the work in the aftermath, when you usually spend that time just telling yourself how awful you are for the thing that you did. Spend that time in helpful reflection, just being interested, asking questions. Why does this happen? How do I allow it to happen? What's the environment that it happens in? What are the commonalities between all these things that happen all the time in my life? And you're just building that mental catalog for when it comes in the future. You can recognize what's going to happen well in advance before you're in it so deep that there's no turning back and saying no. Yeah, it's a bit of a process. It's not a quick answer. It's like the video I posted the other day about how there's no money, like you're not getting rich in health and fitness, right? You're not getting rich doing the things that are helpful, because the things that are helpful are hard work, and people don't like hard work. But if you want to change, if you want to be a completely different person 5 years from now, it's not about what you do 4 years and 360 days from now. It's about what you start doing today. And those are the meaningful things. Like, we always push these goals so far ahead in the future, and then we try and enact them when we're on the doorstep, because we don't like thinking about who we can be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We want to know who we can be that is better and different tomorrow. But has that ever worked for you? No, it will never work for you. It never has, it never will. You have to be willing to do the difficult work every single day that gives the meaningful payoffs in the long term. And I know that's a little bit of a rant and a little bit off topic, but worth including. But this is why it's important to aim to build self-control and discipline in reflection rather than in the moment.